Hey everyone, it's Types, and today I'm going to be going over the top 5 decks in Pokemon TCG Pocket, which is a game. It's a Pokemon TCG game. It's a little different than the current TCG. The cards are completely different, but there are just some gameplay differences, which I've talked about before, but most of it doesn't matter too much. The energy works a little differently. I'll talk about it, but pretty much energy is separate from your deck, so that will hopefully smooth out consistency. And then the decks are smaller, you take less prizes, and yeah, you have less bench space. I don't know. We don't know all the cards either. Let's just hop right into it because this is pretty interesting. And the decks are mostly ideas. And I'm not going to really talk about colorless text in this deck either. There are certain texts that are really solid in my opinion. Most notably, oh, there's a bunch. There's Vulpix. I talked about a lot of the colorless text in my control video as well. But there is Vulpix. You could play Sizzlipede, although I don't know about that. Psyduck might be really, really insane. Magikarp is not the best, but is an option. My favorite colorless tech is where is it? Is it's Minfu. I don't remember how to say this Pokemon. The Minfu, which does 30 for one fighting. Or sorry, does 30 as a fighting Pokemon for one colorless. So you can hit that fighting weakness, and I don't think there's resistance. Certain Pokemon like Gardevoir here would normally have a resistance, but looks like it doesn't have that. It looks like there isn't any resistance, but you're able to hit fighting weakness, and it's colorless and a colorless attacker, which is really good. And then there's a bunch of colorless Pokemon that are all really solid. Or they're not all really solid, but most of them are Kangaskhan, Chansey, and then the number 6 deck. I know it's top 5, but this is an honorable mention depending on exactly how the rules work. And that's going to be Snorlax. If you play Pokemon TCG standard format, there's a deck called Snorlax Control or Snorlax Stall. This is a Snorlax Stall deck. You just leave Snorlax in the active, 150 HP, which is higher than um, it's the highest. It's not the highest. I think there's a Charizard EX with more HP, but that's a stage 2 multi-prizer. So it's tied for the highest with literally everything else, which is like so high, right? 150 HP, you're looking at Pokemon, they're doing, I mean, it's doing 70 for 4, so that's not knocking this out. So this Pokemon is able to tank a lot of hits. And then if you are able to deck out, which I'm not entirely sure about at this moment, I'm not sure if decking out is a possibility, but if you're able to deck out, then you can force your opponent to deck out, you could potentially have some form of recovery. Again, I don't know if there's recovery either, but if you can just get a little bit of recovery so you don't deck out, your opponent's not prepared to avoid decking out, and then you just leave this in the active. Your opponent has to hit through 3 Snorlaxes. That's going to be brutal for them, and yeah, it's really difficult. And I think Snorlax is a Pokemon to sit behind in the early game could also be really solid. But I'm not 100% sure just yet if that's really a viable strategy. There's also a Chansey. Where's the Chansey? Chansey, which has 120 HP, which is, it's 30 less, which is pretty noticeable. Also, they are both weak to fighting, which is a plus 20 weakness. Plus 20 weakness is, I believe, the weakness of all the Pokemon, which is pretty cool. I think it's arguably more. I don't know if it's more balanced. It means that if you're in a weakness matchup, you're not just going from one shots to or from two shots to one shots, but it's still going to make a pretty big impact, especially with these lower HP numbers compared to standard format. But 120 HP is, solid still, and 60 for 3 is certainly is better than 70 for 4. But I don't know if it's like drastically better, but I think Chansey and Snorlax are both really cool. Kangaskhan also really cool. Double coin flip, 30 for each heads, one colorless, and it has 100 HP. So if you are looking for these high HP, colorless, essentially walls in your decks to tank a lot of damage, and with Kangaskhan's case, potentially allow you to do damage as well in the meantime, then they're solid options. You have to look at the retreat cost that's really high. We don't know how much switching there will be and how that's going to work exactly, but those are really solid Pokemon, and you could make a deck just focused around Snorlax where you leave this in the active. Your opponent has to hit through it. If there's healing, it's going to be really rough for your opponent to deal with. If there's a lot of switching, it could be kind of difficult. And it just depends exactly how Pocket's built. But Snorlax, I think, is going to be potentially a deck where you can just stall your opponent out, and eventually they'll just run out of cards in their deck. But if they don't lose the game when running out of cards in your deck, which there's something called My First Battle, which Pocket is, I think it's kind of based on, then you can't deck out in that, right? So if your opponent can't deck out, then trying to deck him out, it just won't work. It's not everyone in the game. So then you'd eventually just lose, probably because your opponent will be doing. It doesn't matter how much, as long as they're doing some damage, you'll eventually just lose. But if assuming you're doing no damage, but Snorlax is a really solid attacker. I think big basic colorless Pokemon are really solid in a variety of decks, but also as kind of their own deck, at least so far from what we've seen. But then the number 5 deck is actually also a stall deck. I talked about this in the control install video I made about Pocket. This is Vaporeon. Vaporeon is one of the Pokemon that we have that we see the previous evolutions of. We have a number of evolutions, including stuff like Charizard EX, but we don't have Charmeleon and Charmander. But we do have Vaporeon. We have seen that. Oh, sorry, we have Vaporeon. We also have Eevee, and Eevee's nothing special, but Vaporeon it's 130 HP at stage 1, and it heals 30 when it attacks for 3 energy, and it does 60. And so that's really nice, right? So you're going to be able to be doing really really like decent damage. 60 is not insane, but it will be one-shotting a lot of these basics. We're looking at the Shelter, Psyduck, Squirtle. These are weak, but I'll skip past them. You got Bellsprout, and you have Pikachu. You have I don't know. I mean, Fu here has 60. Meltan has 60. Just a lot of Pokemon have 60. Eevee itself has 60 as well. Some have 70, and of course some have higher or lower, but a lot. 60 is like the default number. So Vaporeon here hitting 60 is really solid, and then healing 30 from yourself is really nice. If you're able to heal twice, or if you're able to heal even once, I said 150 is the highest, but if you heal once, essentially your opponent's going to have to do 160 damage to this Vaporeon. If you heal twice, that's 190, higher than literally every other Pokemon in the entire game, which is absurd. So, of course, if they are able to just one-shot you, this is very underwhelming, but if they're not, then you're in a really great spot. And so this is an attacker that, stage 1, 3 energy, not the easiest thing to set up in the world, but once you set it up, it can be a really difficult Pokemon to have to deal with. And assuming it's not getting one-shotted, or if it's not getting two-shotted, if it's getting three-shotted, then you can set up another Vaporeon in the back. And once you're setting that up, then you can just stream this Vaporeon, so your opponent's going to have a really difficult time dealing with it. And yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen. And so you're going to be sitting there and tanking lots of hits and doing lots of damage. You compare it with Greninja, which has an ability to do stuff in the meantime, but that seems like a lot of work, having multiple evolution lines and a bunch of energies on this Vaporeon and stuff. But I think Vaporeon's a really good Pokemon. This is a Pokemon where you might want to hide behind a wall to wait to set up. I'm not entirely sure about that one, though. Then the number 4 deck is going to be arguably, I might be underrating this deck a little, but I don't know exactly how consistent evolution lines will be, but we'll see. But we got Mewtwo EX and Gardevoir, which is not an EX. I'm pretty sure. This is a mistake in the PokeBeach article. I'm not 100% sure though, and there might be a different version of this article as well. But Mewtwo EX here it's an EX, so it gives up 2 prizes to 2 points. I guess they're not prizes at all, but then it has 150 HP. I mentioned this earlier. 150 is the highest outside of Charizard EX, and Mewtwo EX has this really high HP. Then for Psychic Colorless, you can do 50, which is solid. Nothing insane there, but certainly not bad either. And for Psychic Colorless, you can do 150, and then you discard 2 Psychic energies from this Pokemon. So you can't discard a double energy if those exist, like a double Colorless. And then we have Gardevoir, not an EX, I believe. I believe this is a mistake. It certainly doesn't look like an EX, but it has 110 HP. Oh, by the way, I will say these cards might not be the actual cards. I probably should have said that earlier. There's a chance they'll change, but I don't think these will. I think these will be the same. Although this Gardevoir art might change, but Gardevoir here, it's 110 HP, Psyshot 60 for 3, whatever. Pretty underwhelming. I think we see some other stage 2s, and I think that HP number is a little low. It's not that low, but then the damage output also seems a little underwhelming. But whatever. The big thing here is the ability Shadow. Once during your turn, you may take 1 psychic energy from your energy zone and attach it to the psychic Pokemon in the active spot. This is great energy acceleration to Mewtwo EX. That's obviously what it's intended to be with. Additionally, you do have a 2 retreat cost, so you can accelerate yourself and attach for turn, and then get that Pokemon out of the active spot, and then you can just go into Mewtwo EX. It's really nice, right? So you have Mewtwo EX, really high HP, and a really solid damage output. If you have multiple Gardevoirs in play, which I'm pretty sure you'll be able to do, again, I don't exactly know the rules, but Gardevoir, put that into play, accelerate energies to your Mewtwo, and you can power this up every single turn. I don't know, as I said, exactly how the energies work, but really, really good. Also, there's the discard pile. As I said, I'm just not really sure how the energy works, but Mewtwo EX is a really, really powerful Pokemon that is it's probably it's one of the poster children of the set Genetic Apex. So Genetic Apex has these 3 Pokemon we saw from PAX. We saw PAX, and there's Mewtwo, Genetic Apex Mewtwo, Genetic Apex Charizard, and Genetic Apex Pikachu. I don't know if these are different like sets because they all have these like different words on them, but I don't think so. Mewtwo EX, you can see here, really, really powerful, and it just good, right? High HP, high damage, always good. Of course, it is a little awkward. You need a lot of energy, and you also need a stage 2 in play, which seems like a lot of work, and you're not getting much payoff in the meantime. Psychic Sphere is what you'll be using in the meantime, 150 HP. As I said, really great on Snorlax, Vaporeon, but those are both single prizers, and this is a multi-prizer, so it doesn't feel, I mean, it feels okay, but if you're not really doing much damage, then it doesn't feel that good. And then Gardevoir is like nice, but it's not going to allow you to instantly set up another Mewtwo EX to do Psycho Drive. So still, I think a really solid deck. Maybe I'm underrating it, but I think it's still a really good deck and a really fun one, but not so sure about the consistency. Moving on to deck number 3. This is a pretty interesting one, a very straightforward one. This is Moltres EX. Moltres EX has 2 attacks. It has Inferno Dance, also 140 HP, so a little less than Mewtwo here, which is a little, obviously it's just weaker there in terms of HP. But then you have, you can do 70 for Fire Colors. You have Inferno Dance, flip 3 coins, take any amount of fire energy from your energy zone equal to the number of heads and attach it to your bench fire Pokemon in any way you like. This will, of course, allow you to power up a bench Moltres EX. And it needs to be to a bench fire Pokemon. We've only seen one other fire Pokemon. And you could pair this with Charizard EX if you want. Oh, no, sorry. We've seen a bunch of fire Pokemon, but they're all like relatively underwhelming previous evolutions. Not like terrible, but not that good. But Charizard EX here has it can do 200 for 4 energy, and then you discard 2 fires in this Pokemon. You have 180 HP, 60 for 3. So you can be trying to power up your Charizard EX with Moltres EX, and this is, has a better flow with the Mewtwo EX deck. You're trying to set up your stage 2 first and then your basic, but obviously normally you can just set up a basic easier than a stage 2. So I think this will have a better flow, and you don't have to play Charizard EX. You could play a thinner line. You might be able to choose your starting Pokemon in Pocket. Not entirely sure about that, but there might not be mulligans because that slows the game down, and so they might let you choose your starter. In my first battle, that's kind of how it works, but it's assigned to you. We'll see. But certainly using the Moltres EX to power up Charizard EX is a pretty logical combo and might be a really good use of it. Or you could just play Moltres EX with either a bunch of basic fire Pokemon that are high HP and stuff like that, or you could just do Moltres EX by itself. Of course, this is a little bit luck dependent. Moltres EX here does have 2 retreats, so you're probably going to be attacking twice with Inferno Dance, and then you're going to retreat and add the active, and so you're going to have some different things there. And 70 damage isn't super high, but it's not like terrible, and if you're switching between your Pokemon, it's okay. Also, you are weak to lightning, which I think is nice. There'll probably be a lot of fire Pokemon weak to water. I mean, that's what all the other fire Pokemon are weak to, I'm assuming. I didn't really pay attention, but yeah, looks like that is the case. So, diversifying weakness, always a good thing in the Pokemon TCG. Next, the number 2 deck is the final Pokemon EX on this list, which is going to be Pikachu EX, which I mentioned earlier. One of the other 3 poster children of the Pocket and Pokemon. Let's be honest, it's Pikachu, Mewtwo, and Charizard. And Pikachu EX here is a really good Pokemon, 120 HP, a basic Pokemon, even lower. We're going down in the HP realm, but you have Circle Circuit, which, if you play the Pokemon TCG, there's a Raichu that does this. I think there are other Pokemon, but Raichu is really solid. But this is the same. It's a little different, but it's really good. It's pretty similar. And for 2 lightning, you do 30 times multiplier. It does 30 damage for each of your bench lightning Pokemon. And I don't think it's going to be difficult to get lots of lightning Pokemon on your bench. And you just attach twice to this, and you're hitting for 90. Maybe not 90, maybe like even 30. 30 is not that good. 30 is underwhelming, but 60 is certainly solid, and then 90 is amazing. This is so easy to power up. It's just 2 energy attachments. If you're getting one-shotted, that is a big issue. And you are weak to fighting, which I don't think is good. I mean, I think this Mindfu is actually really good, but I think Pikachu EX is a really, really solid Pokemon. So yeah, I mean Pikachu EX is just it's good. I mean I don't have too much to say about it. It's really good. You compare this with other Lightning Pokemon we've seen. We see Electabuzz, Tynamo, Pincurchin, and the Pikachu and the Raichu, which all have various different attacks. Raichu here is 140 for Lightning, and discards all the energy, which seems a little awkward. And then Electabuzz and Tynamo and Pincurchin are all mediocre basic Pokemon. Tynamo really interestingly does 30 damage for only 1 energy, which actually seems really interesting, but it only has 30 HP. So yeah, it's kind of interesting there. And does not have free retreat, which I think would make it really nice. But Pikachu EX here, really solid. It's just so efficient in terms of damage output. It's really good. Keep in mind, as I said, it does 90. You may be thinking, why can't it do more than that? You can only have 3 bench Pokemon. So, or I'm assuming you can only have 3 bench Pokemon. That's what it looks like so far. And also that means that it's easier to see on your phone. But Pikachu EX here is it's just a really solid Pokemon that it just seems really good. The number one deck, though, however, is going to be Hitmonlee Greninja. So Hitmonlee is a really fun Pokemon. It says for one fighting, stretch kick it as third to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Now, I don't know if there are going to be decks that aren't going to be playing bench Pokemon, but if they are, this is just going to completely mess up your opponent's setup. Say they're going for Gardevoir, you can start sniping their Ralts and Curlias before they're getting up to that. I don't know if you hit weakness or resistance on the bench. It doesn't say. So who knows? In regular play, you don't, but it always says that. It always says this does not hit weakness and resistance on the bench. So maybe it just says don't account for it. So who knows? But even if you don't hit weakness on the bench, that's fine. And I don't think there's resistance. So Hitmonlee, though, seems really solid, just as a great sniping option. Then you have Greninja, which I mentioned earlier, and arguably one of the poster children. Oh, I can't see this card. But Water Shuriken, yes, this is a card that was kind of in standard. It arguably would be good in standard now, but it has its ability. Also 120 HP, 60 for 2 is like not bad. So not amazing, but not that bad. Water Shuriken here, though, is near ability. Once during your turn, you may do 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's just the attack of Hitmonlee can do it to the active as well, and it's just really solid. Greninja, I think, is so good. I mean, 30 extra damage every turn seems really nice. I think the games, that they're intended to be faster, so you're not going to be doing like hundreds of damage with this throughout the course of the game, but you're going to be doing with a Greninja, but you can certainly, I imagine, do 90 damage throughout the course of the game with Water Shuriken, which is just essentially free damage. Of course, it is a stage 2, so being a stage 2 is awkward with Gardevoir, potentially awkward with the Charizard EX as well, but I do think Greninja will be able to get enough value out of it, especially with it as like a support line, where you just don't need to worry about it too much, and you're going to be attacking with Hitmonlee, maybe attacking with the what is it? You can be attacking with Kangaskhan. You can be attacking with really just whatever. You can also have higher HP and higher damage attacker, or higher damage and higher energy attackers like Chansey or Snorlax, which are all really solid. I will point out a few other Pokemon now. Meowth, Payday, one colorless, do 10, draw a card. I don't know how good card draw will be in the format. I don't know how good trainers will be in the format. Meowth could be really good if there's really limited card draw, but if there isn't, if there's just, standard levels or even like half the level of standard level of card draw, Meowth won't be very good. Lapras here, another full art here. It does Hydro Pump, Water. For one water, 20, but if you have at least 3 extra waters attached to it, it does 70. So it can do 90 or 70 more. So it does 90 for 4. That's kind of interesting. Kind of makes me think there will be some form of water energy acceleration, potentially in the form maybe of a Misty card. We do have Brock, which accelerates to Golem or Onyx. Is Lapras a Misty Pokemon? I actually realized it isn't, is it? But anyway, Brock, is another card here, accelerating fighting energy to your Golem or Onyx. We don't have cards for those, but I think Brock plus Onyx could be good, but who knows. There are some control options. I mentioned some in this video, and specifically stall options mostly, but there are actual control options. There's a Psyduck that like support locks, which is super good. There's a bunch of really cool Pokemon. I mentioned Mienfoo as well earlier. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited for Pocket. I hope the middle will be interesting. I hope we can actually get the cards. I hope that it's like affordable. But that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and are excited for Pocket as well, because I think it'll be really cool. Live has its flaws, let's just say. So I'm looking for something that hopefully it doesn't have the same flaws Live does. Hopefully it doesn't have any flaws at all. I'd be shocked if it doesn't, but hopefully it's something better than Live. Live is, I'd say, disappointing, not necessarily bad, though you could certainly say it's bad, and I might say it's bad, but certainly disappointing to what it could be, especially multiple years really into it coming out. So anyway, though, on that happy note, I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking and subscribing. Comment down below your thoughts. Did I miss any decks? And what decks do you want to play? What cards do you want to see? But I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.